during the president's first term, we had to wait 6 months to get ministers. Well, he has won a second term, and now we're asking what should be top on his agenda as he will be sworn in May. Well, I still have in the studio Barrister Jide Ologun and Segun Sopitan. It's good to have you gentlemen staying with us. So, of course, we all are keeping our fingers crossed for May 29. Although, you know, we heard that last year Mr. President had said Democracy Day was going to be June 12. We don't know how certain or how sacrosanct that is. But in the meantime, we'll just leave it at May. So there are so many expectations, obviously, but my first question is, what should be topping Mr. President's priority list? I'll start with you, Segun.
So, I mean, first on that, May 29, on the lighter note, there is no controversy. May 29 is Inauguration Day. And then you have Democracy Day as a public holiday, you know, and all of that. So it's a straightforward thing, no issues there. Right now, the president has the unique opportunity. He's gotten a second term. That wasn't so certain 2-3 months ago, right? So he has an opportunity to correct some of the things that he did wrong, or that he got wrong in the first term. And for me, I think that on a fundamental level, before we talk of the economy and all the other things, I think that the president has got to make a more deliberate effort to rally the country and unite people. Starting from 2014 thereabouts, leading up onto the election that brought the president in for the first time, till this election as well, the country has been divided in an unprecedented manner where whether it's on ethnicity or religion or region, you know, you see people going at each other's throats, so much so that logic has become a victim and people can no longer analyze issues and take on national issues objectively. This because there is a deep dividing line, you know, between people. And I think that that can only be addressed when the right rhetoric now is coming from the center, from the head, from the person who is the father figure to us all. So I think he needs to deal with that issue so that we can rally behind him, rally behind his government, regardless of whether you're from the southeast, who didn't vote for him, or from the north central, where he got, probably northwest, where he got most of his votes, you know. So for me, that's a critical issue. The issue of our values as well, he needs to take a serious look at that. And again, it's a missed opportunity from the first term. The National Orientation Agency, I keep saying this, is a sleeping weapon in the hands of the government. They're just not doing enough with that agency.
They would disagree with you, I tell you. The last time we had someone from there on here, it was an argument of sorts. And then again, there are people who make a case for them and say, well, you know, they're underfunded, the monies don't come as when due.
I agree.
And they only are mostly active when it's time for elections.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're underfunded. And that's why I'm saying it's a sleeping weapon. The government can put in a massive budget behind that agency and develop a professionally put together campaign that is designed to program our thinking as a people, so that we have fundamental value problems, fundamental culture problems. There are certain things that are abnormal everywhere you go that are very, very normal here. Every day I drive in traffic and I see Okada riders on one way, and when you try to correct them, they insult you. That's the Nigeria we have today, and it cuts across regardless of what level of society you are in. So I think the president needs to look at the issue of uniting us as a people and then dealing with this mindset, values issues, because really, if you really look at it, that's where some of our biggest problems spring from. So I really hope that he wouldn't trivialize this. I really hope he would take a good look at this and understand the enormity and the importance of this issue.
Talking about uniting the people, you know, as in this administration that is about to come to a close, it took 6 months, as we all know. And of course, the weakened economy needing tethering was left unmanned, and soon the country was drifting into recession. We saw a lot of things happen. we saw a one-sided, or some people would call lopsided appointment, which also led to an uproar of sorts. Although for me, I still have a little bit of issue, not necessarily about the lopsidedness, but about merit, or rather, professionalism, being able to do the job, square pegs and square holes. What do we expect in this? Because we hope that, for every cycle you learn something. What do we expect in that wise?
What do we, or what should we?
Well,
If we talk about what we should expect a better performance. But I'm afraid the president already told us it should be tough. Tough in what area, I cannot discern. But I know that constitutionally, the responsibilities of the government has been encapsulated in protecting lives and properties, providing for the people, and creating an enabling environment, which are all connected. And of course, this is further expanded by the motto of this country that says unity and faith. And Mr. Shegun just mentioned the fact that we've been massively divided in recent times. If we are not united, we won't have faith in the project Nigeria. Then peace and progress. That means without peace, there cannot be progress. And I'll be bringing in some very practical instances that cannot be denied. Look at what is going on in Zamfara State. Zamfara State is a state rich in gold and some other mineral resources that some illegal miners have been mining for years. There was a report a few days ago that in Zamfara State alone, there are 22,000 widows and 44,000 orphans as a result of banditry. Bandits, when you talk about bandits,
it's quite a chunk.
Bandits,
massive.
members of a gang who are armed to cause havoc, and that is for Zamfara. In Katsina State, the state of the president himself, the governor already surrendered to bandits. And you look at, I did a research when the poverty profile hit Nigeria. The 10 poorest states in Nigeria, only one eastern state is there, which is Ebonyi. Sokoto takes the lead, followed by Katsina State. They talk about Zamfara. Why? Because of the insensate killings that we have there. Now, we started in the first time by saying we want to diversify the economy from a mono-dependent economy on oil and gas, which also we have mismanaged, to agriculture and other areas. And I will tell you, everything we have pumped in there, they have appeared like waste, because I cannot understand why on one side you are encouraging farmers to farm, on the other side you are condoning herdsmen killing the farmers, sending them out of the farm. So where exactly are we going? Now, the case of electricity is there. Is it impossible to give us electricity in this Nigeria and jumpstart the economy? And that is why I was at cross with the traditional rulers in Zamfara State, and I'm talking generally speaking with all due respect now, who are now responding that the Air Force came to bomb civilians and things, when one of the ministers accused them of conniving with the bandits, and they are saying no. I have challenged them. They go to Aso Villa to beg the president for development. I have never read that some people go from Texas or from Maryland or from New York to go and beg Donald Trump to develop any state in America. Why can't you go there and request that the government fixes the situation we have in the country? You see, so I have what I call a dependent economy. People looking up to a group of people to care for them.
And could it also be that the reason why these governments are not prioritizing the care or the welfare of their people, the security of lives and property, is because the people in themselves are not necessarily putting some pressure on or demanding for these dividends, or they don't even have an idea that they should be? Do the
children of some of these rich men and women, some of them our rulers, that school abroad, beg their parents to send them to school abroad? Well, you see, I think we are yet to...
But then again, we're still talking about the issue of us not knowing our rights. A lot of these people don't.
We are born. You see, we are born
these people
to crave good life. It is conditioning that takes us away from that legitimate root of human life. And I'll give you a beautiful instance. When a child is born, the child cries for attention, and you know the attention that is given. And I am saying that when you come asking for votes, you make all these promises. We know them. But when you get to office, it becomes a difficult thing. And of course, you just mentioned the case of the people. I'm not armed, he's not armed, you are not armed. So I go demanding now. You know, some laws don't get effective when they are to make things right in the society. But the moment you challenge a system, you will know how effective the law is. You can be arrested and locked up. And the generality of the people are too concerned and not bold enough to make these demands. But must we demand for what we deserve? Somebody said in business, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. Because naturally, I cannot. Now, look at what is happening. We are still debating the capacity of paying 30,000 naira minimum wage. That is still there. Do you know that the Bank of America is raising the minimum wage for the workers to $20 per hour? You calculate that in about 6-7 hours. You calculate that in a month. What does it translate to? All right. Now, the World Bank is advising us to remove subsidy. And already, the pump price of petrol was lifted from 87.50 kobo to 145, with the promise that the refineries will function, more players will come into it. As of today, we are proud, so to say, to declare that we spend 1.4 trillion naira annually on under-recovery subsidy. We have 4 refineries that are not functioning. You see, several issues. You want to talk about security. Right now, the latest is that the House of Representatives, they have given the president 48 hours to address the nation and maybe their house on the state of insecurity. You see, so we have these different kinds of issues. And of course, at the end of the day, if you cannot enhance the quality of society, then you may not complain that your regime is reckoned as a failure. And I am saying, because in public relations, the 1978 Mexican statement says, it is the art and social science of monitoring trends and predicting their consequences. Right now, you saw what happened in Sudan, and that is why the people should not be oppressed. When the people feel oppressed, they rise up to fight back. Okay. In Sudan, you've seen what has happened. This man came to office in 1989, 30 years now, and it's so do you know democracy say government of the people, by the people, and for the people? People 3 times. It's all about the people. And if the people don't have access to what they deserve and what they are negotiating that will make life meaningful to them, then what is the essence of having that structure?
Well, Shegun, he also has talked about, we disagree on some level, but then if the people do not demand, or the people you put there to do the job are not doing the job, I mean, naturally, you will begin to demand. And like he has said, the people are feeling oppressed. But in Nigeria's case, it's different. We've been oppressed for a long time, and we never, ever get to speak up. You know, they say when you push to the wall, you bounce back. But we're building some space in the wall, and just, you know, we're still going in. So, really, what's wrong with placing a demand? Is it that we're gagged? I really don't know, because there's a lot happening and we're just somewhat folding our arms and looking at it.
You have to realize and remember that if you're a 35-year-old Nigerian and below, what you understand as society is an aberration, is a creation of the military era, right? The average Nigerian has a fear of authority, a fear of people in high places. You can't look them in the eye. Even our culture teaches us, as a Yoruba man, you don't look your elders in the eye. You know, those types of things. So the average Nigerian simply doesn't have what it takes in them to challenge the people in authority and people in power. And this, for me, has come from a culture starting from the 1966 coup till today, where the system has been bastardized, has been deformed deliberately to favor an oligarchy. And that's why I say that one of the other things, when you talk about agenda setting for the president, one of the other things that he didn't quite get right, opinions are divided. Some will say, well, he tried a bit, and, some will say it was a total failure. Regardless of where you stand, the anti-corruption fight was something that was a missed opportunity, because this president came on that first time primarily on that image of a no-nonsense, upright man of integrity who was going to come and take on this oligarchy and this vested interests. One of the fundamental problems of this country today are the vested interests. Just talk about any of the sectors. He spoke about power. Why is it so difficult, for crying out loud, after 20 years of democracy and the billions of dollars that have been spent, counting 20 years, why do we still have 4,500, 5,000, 5,200 megawatts of power in 20 years? I mean, it's unthinkable. Something must be wrong. It can't be natural. It can't be because we're doing some things and they're not quite working, so we're fixing. If everything improves by, incrementally over time, if you are working at it, but ours is not improving incrementally, it says that something or someone or some people are holding it down deliberately, and you can push the same argument.
I'll refer you to a statement made by one of the, I think it was the DG of the presidential campaign, the Buhari campaign, that the Minister for Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, he did say something like, we will have 24 hours power supply if you vote Buhari in. And I did ask a question when that story came out, and I was hoping that the minister would respond. Is there something that that you're holding on to that, has there been a clog or a spanner in the wheels of getting this power to work for 24 hours and, you just leave it there and then you're going to take it out when we vote Buhari? Because you're still in that government. It's not like there's going to be a power change. You're still there. It's not like we had elections at the time. You were campaigning. Why don't you do it in anticipation of people voting you into office? So again, it feeds to some of these conspiracy theories that, somebody somewhere is trying to, keep us in the dark ages. But let's move away from that. Let's talk about, the issue of security, which has been an issue for more than 2 weeks. It's more like everywhere you turn, there is an issue. And again, it's not an interim government. We still have the president sitting in that office. What are we doing about that? Because the government said, they were going to work on security, they were going to work on the economy, and they were going to fight corruption. But I do not know, I mean, I might be wrong, but I haven't seen anything that has gone up to 50%, if even 35% in this administration. So what are we going to do going forward? Yeah,
so before we come to security, I think I want to say again, because I think this is one of the fundamental issues that even affects the issue of security. The president has got to fight corruption. He said it at the beginning of his term, that if we don't kill corruption, it will kill us. And it's a truth, and it's a truism. However, what has he done? Has he really tried to kill it? This second term, he doesn't have any political interest per se to pander to. So I would expect that in this, like he said, Barrister was saying, he said it's going to be tough. What he was talking about then was that he said, I will be tougher this time. He wasn't saying things were going to be tougher. He said, I will be tougher this time. So I'm expecting that this second term, starting from his household, his party, his cabinet, his appointees, he needs to wield the big stick and ensure that if you're out of line, you either face the tune or you get thrown out or whatever. But he's got to fix that. He's got to fix this selective stuff that he's doing with the corruption issue. And then you now come back. Now, why I'm emphasizing that is, if you look at the security issue, you find, and indeed any other issue in Nigeria, you find the corruption question just lurking its head somewhere behind it. Now, can you answer the question as to why 3 months before the elections, the Fulani, in quote, herdsmen disappeared? Because things actually abated. A month or two before the elections, things seemed to just calm down. And, you still had the skirmishes. You can't ever have a perfect society. And then as soon as the elections were over, boom, it was almost like an explosion. Everywhere has gone completely crazy. People are being killed in Zamfara. People are in places where there were only slight issues before. All of a sudden, you have massive security challenges and 50s, 60s people, people in their 50s and 60s are getting killed, hacked down, villages are being burnt in Kogi State, in Sokoto State, so why that sudden escalation? I think it's a question we need to answer. These issues go beyond, there are people behind this.
So there's more to it than meets the eye.
There's more to it than meets the eye.
Well, I want to say thank you to you, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we do not have too much time. Thank you very much, Segun Shopita, and of course, Barrister Jide Ologun for being here. Well, we'll take up Plus Politics package for today, and of course, we'll be looking at two issues. We think we should be looking at the release of Leah Shaibu and, of course, the insecurity in the country. When we return, I'll be giving you my take. President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered the security agencies in the country to ensure that all bandits are immediately dealt with. He gave the directive when he met with service chiefs on Thursday at the President's Villa in Abuja, the nation's capital. Addressing State House correspondents at the end of the closed-door meeting, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Gabriel Olonishakin, disclosed that the president issued marching orders to the military to ruthlessly address the security challenges in the country.
And this review strategy is to address all the issues, including kidnapping, banditry, and other associated issues confronting the nation. And we are coming up with a revised strategy to handle those challenges.
Kaduna-Abuja road is now safe. We have cleared the road. We've arrested a lot of the kidnappers, and in confrontation with some of them, some were fatally injured. So the road is cleared. Our patrol teams, the combined security services that are patrolling the road are there constantly 24 hours.
Following a point of order by Senator Shehu Sani during plenary on Thursday, the senators asked the federal government to secure the release of the last Dapchi schoolgirl, Leah Sharibu, from captivity of the Boko Haram. Senator Sani also asked for the release of the remaining Chibok girls still in Boko Haram captivity. The federal government negotiated the release of the other girls, but was unable to secure the release of Leah, who was unwilling to denounce her Christian faith to regain her freedom.
The abduction of Leah Sharibu and others have raised national and international concern on the need for the federal government and all Nigerians to put hands, hearts, and heads together to work to secure her release. Her continuous detention in the hands of the captives should touch on the conscience of all Nigerians. Dialogue has worked in other countries of the world in securing the freedom of hostages in Yemen, in Afghanistan, and in other crises and violent spots around the world. We should use this opportunity to call on the federal government to do everything possible to secure the release of this girl and all others who have been held for over a year and for over 5 years.
it's time for my take. Now, we're a country with many laws, yet the same laws are hardly working except for the common man. So, how do we stop the deep-seated corruption in our electoral process? Well, it's simple. Say no to the momentary satisfaction you'd gain from the petty cash that you're offered for a vote. Think of your future and that of your children. I mean, remember, you can't demand good governance if you already have sold your voice. Think twice. Let's render these politicians, these corrupt politicians, powerless and give the good guys a chance. Now, that way, we can pave way for the change that we seek. I am Mariana Cone, and it's been Plus Politics. Enjoy the rest of our programs.